Dr. Salwa Al-Jassar. I am Associate Professor, School of Education, Kuwait University. I was a former member of Parliament. I was elected the First Lady in my Parliament in 2009.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. So we will start with you, Professor. You have only 15 minutes.
Yes,
let me introduce you so quick. We have the first speaker of this session, Professor Anderson, Professor in Emeritus School of Business Administration, California State University. Professor, her PhD from the Ohio State University. She currently serves as Professor Emeritus at California State University, San Marcos. She has held a variety of teaching and administration positions at University of Kansas and other universities. Also, she is past president of the Marketing Educators Association and served as a member of board directors for San Diego Financial Executive International. Welcome you, Professor. You can start. The mic with you.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. I saw some of the sessions yesterday and they were really interesting. I enjoyed them very much. My presentation is about preparing for the unexpected. Entrepreneurs have a difficult time enough surviving, but many times in an age of uncertainty, things are happening that we just never anticipated to happen. We know that 20% of brand new businesses do not survive for the first 12 months. And 5 years later, 50% of those businesses are not surviving. Those are in the best of times. We are certainly not living in the best of times today, as I think we will all agree. There are so many things happening, so many mega trends, and around the world, many things are making the future very uncertain. For example, we have climate change, which is increasing the number of natural disasters unbelievably. They have more than doubled in the last 20 years. We have hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, droughts, fires in California, all over the place. The weather is changing, and this is causing all sorts of problems for many different businesses. Then, of course, we're living through the pandemic right now, which I am sure no one ever anticipated that it would be of this magnitude of duration. This is catching everyone very much off guard. When I made this slide, which was just 3 weeks ago, I estimated that 45 million people worldwide would be affected by the pandemic. And this morning I checked and we're up at almost 55 million. So my estimate was totally off just 3 weeks ago. We're also seeing cultural clashes really around the world. There have been protests, riots, and many times looting of retail stores and other businesses. We see political systems being challenged, governments are being questioned. The rules of the game are really changing for businesses. And many small businesses don't know what the future is going to hold, and they don't know how to plan for the future. Now, one of the things when people start a new business, many times I've worked with entrepreneurs that think of themselves as a really independent business. They don't recognize that when they open that business, they're becoming part of a system. We have two well-known models that attempt to show this. There's the Eisenberg model that says an individual firm is related through 6 domains to its local ecosystem and its global ecosystem. And then there is the Griffin model, which has the firm at the center with its immediate stakeholders surrounding it, and then the larger general environment surrounding that. Now, the real contribution of both of these models is that it shows an individual firm is part of a system. It is not a freestanding operation. It will be impacted by other organizations and the environment, mega trends. It will be impacted by all sorts of different things outside the firm. Now, there was a poll conducted of founders of businesses that had recently failed. And they asked them why they thought their business had failed. And the number one reason cited by 42% was that there was no market or need for the product. This would relate to markets and culture domains in the Eisenberg model, and it would relate to the customers factor in the Griffin model. But if one digs a little deeper, the real question is, why was there no market or need for the product or service? Was it social cultural? For example, the wearing of fur is really unacceptable, socially unacceptable in many parts of the world due to the efforts of People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA, who said it's not good to wear animal fur. So this has really made the demand for fur coats and products diminish greatly. There could also be technological reasons, making the product or service obsolete. For example, I think of 8-track tapes that were totally successful. Blockbuster Video was a very successful firm for a while, but technology made that totally obsolete. Then you have the political legal reasons. Sometimes we find that ingredients or components of products are harmful to one's health. Asbestos comes to mind. So there are all sorts of reasons why there may be no market or need for the product or service. The number 2 reason cited by over 20% of the people, the founders, was that they ran out of cash. And I always find that rather interesting. It could be due to their expenses being higher than they had anticipated. For example, during this pandemic, many small businesses have find their insurance premiums have increased greatly. And this is causing them to have, their expenses are really getting much higher than they had anticipated. But it could also be due to customers because revenue is down. Both of those are external to the organization. But maybe one of the reasons they ran out of cash is they did an inadequate job of planning originally how much cash they were going to need to get their business started. Michael Dean of Investopedia cited 6 errors he believed that new entrepreneurs made in their business plan. And the number 1 reason he cited is one we can all relate to, not having a plan. I think we're familiar with that saying, failing to plan is a plan to fail. And this happens to many new businesses that really haven't thought out their plan. They don't have a plan for what's going to happen. The second reason cited was incomplete market research. They hadn't done their homework. Maybe there wasn't an adequate market for their product to begin with. I've worked with several entrepreneurs that had ideas for products which I would sort of shake my head at, wondering if there was really a market for their product. And sometimes it was a product that couldn't really be upscaled. So they could make 1 or 2 of these, but you couldn't really make a business out of selling 1 or 2 every few months. Then not being objective, I can definitely relate to that one also. Most entrepreneurs I've worked with through the years are great cheerleaders for their businesses. They're so optimistic, they're so enthusiastic, and I love their enthusiasm, but sometimes they are really not objective if what their future of their business actually is, because they are sort of blinded by their own ambitions. Then making unrecognized or false assumptions. When making a marketing plan, most people assume the future is going to be a certain way. They don't stop to question whether those are really valid assumptions or not, sometimes providing useless information. And the 6th one Michael Dean cited was the missing linkages. This goes back to the 2 models I showed previously. Every new business is linked to many other businesses, and things that happen to those other businesses can have negative impacts on their business. But to the 6th Michael Dean had, I always like to add a 7th, which is no risk assessment. Very few business plans I've seen of entrepreneurs include a risk assessment. And this, in an uncertain time, is really an essential thing to have. A risk assessment has 3 components. One must identify the potential risks that the firm may face. 2, assign a probability of that risk occurring. And 3, trying to estimate how damaging it would be to the firm if that event did occur. Now, in the slide I have here, down in the corner, in the right-hand corner, I have black swan and unknown. I always encourage entrepreneurs to have an unknown cell, something that has low probability of occurring, but could be absolutely devastating to the firm. Because many times the things we plan for don't happen. It's the things we don't plan for that happen to us. So recognizing that there could possibly be something like that, and to think about what could that possibly be that I wouldn't think would happen. I think the pandemic we're currently experiencing now would definitely be considered a black swan. I know the author that created Black Swan said it isn't, but I don't think he was thinking of the magnitude and the duration of the pandemic we're experiencing now, which has really put so many small businesses out of business. They just cannot survive in this situation. Now, when one has a risk assessment, one has to develop contingency plans. I always try to encourage entrepreneurs to realize that every threat has a flip side of creating opportunities for some type of businesses. Don't just look at it as damaging to your business. Does it provide an opportunity that you could take advantage of if you do something a little different, one way or the other? For example, the current pandemic has provided opportunities for a variety of different products and services. There's a surge in demand for home improvement and home decorating, personal protection equipment, in-home gym equipment, delivery services, sanitizing products and services, dividers and shields. These are all products and services which have experienced major surges in demand. And then we have some businesses such as Zoom Communications, which we're using today, which has really thrived during this pandemic, as well as Amazon has done extremely well. So there are business opportunities by every threat that you can see. When planning for the contingencies, the two extremes are, one, do nothing, wait it out and hope things will change. Maybe this too shall pass. Make no changes. That's the orange block I have. Just wait it out and hope it'll go away. And that always doesn't work out so well. The most extreme is to actually close your business and maybe start a new one that you could take advantage of in this new environment. But between those two extremes, you also have things such as minor modifications. Many retail stores have made minor modifications, such as asking customers to wear masks, asking them to social distance. They may have instituted a touchless payment system. They may have changed their hours. All of those are minor modifications. Some restaurants have separated their tables so that the people are 6 feet apart. These are minor modifications. But some firms have had to make major modifications. And one firm comes to mind. Last spring, an entrepreneur planned to start her business called Pasted Paper. This is a wallpaper business, designer wallpaper. And she had her entire business planned based on going to various trade shows. She had lined up something like 10 different trade shows around the world she was going to go to start her business. This was before she had sold a first roll of paper in March. Every single one of her trade shows was canceled. She had an inventory of wallpaper. What was she going to do? She ended up having to change her business to what is now called pastedpaper.com, an completely online business. She had to hire new people, web designers. She had to learn about online marketing. She had to learn a whole new way. Her entire business operation changed from what she had originally planned. That is definitely a major modification. If one not in this presentation goes to pastedpaper.com, you'll see she has a wonderful website and appears to be doing relatively well. Now, I say that adaptability is probably going to be the key to surviving in uncertain times. There was a Harvard Business Review article written in 2011 by Reeves and Damer that cited adaptability as the new competitive advantage. But I say it really is the key to survival in uncertain times. You have to be adaptable to the changing environment. You also have to be flexible. You have to have the flexibility if plan A doesn't work, go to plan B, have contingency plans for contingency plans. Understanding you may have to adjust very, very quickly. This means being very agile. The CEO of Airbnb recently said that the organization had made more changes in 10 weeks than he would have anticipated they would make in 10 years. You have to be able to act quickly. I see adaptability, flexibility, and agility as really the essential elements for surviving in the uncertain times. You should be willing to change just about anything in your organization, its configuration or its ways of operating. The only things I think that you should never mess with are your core values, your integrity, and your ethical principles. As long as you hold to those, I think everything else should be open to change. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much, Professor. You've been in time. Still, you have one more minute.
Oh, I have 1 more minute.
Maybe we can leave it later for the questions. Thank you so much.
Kind if anyone has a question. As I say, it's adaptability, flexibility, and agility. To me, those are the keys.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Professor. So let's move to our second speaker, Engineer Moz Ali, an Innovation Programs Manager, Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum Foundation for Design Academic Performance from United Arab Emirates. Please.
Yes, I'm here.
You have the microphone now. You can start.